Well, first, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today, this first Sunday of Advent. I was speaking with Paul earlier, and we said that it will be a very, very light turnout, so I am happy to see so many of our church family here with us today. Thank you for coming. The true meaning of Advent. Advent is a time for preparation and waiting. We hang ornaments. We shop for special gifts for our family and friends. We prepare cookies and foods to share with each other. We sing Christmas carols and attend church services. I bet you have either heard or said yourself, "Is it Christmas yet?" I don't know about you, but all this preparations and waiting can be exhausting. In the scripture, Mark reminds us of what is truly important, what we're truly waiting for and in preparation for. And that is the glorious return of Jesus. Now, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, when this time will come. During the Advent season, let us not lose our focus on what's truly important. Let us wait and prepare ourselves in anticipation of both the celebration of Christ's birth and his triumphant return. In the season with his name, we keep in mind both advents of Christ. The first in Bethlehem over 2,000 years ago, and the second is yet to come. I believe that the life is a consistent Advent season. We're continually waiting to become, to discover, to complete, and to fulfill. Christmas is not simply the remembrance of the event that took place over 2,000 years ago. It is really about living reality that is repeated each and every year in the heart of believers. Jesus is the light of the world. All things were created through God. God is the light within all of us. It's like a candle in a dark room. And God also shows us the right path if we're willing to take it. If we're willing to look at that candle and follow that path. He guides us around the darkness and the evils and gives us the hope that we so desperately need. I was moved by the ceremony last week when many of our members were here to support the new roof of our church. With any achievement, regardless of how large or how small, it starts with the hope that we can do it. And then the belief in what you hope for will happen. Maybe for many of our members, the church stands for hope in a way in which a community is riddled with problems on all four sides of us. I feel it is necessary for this church to continue to bring back the looks of yesteryear, to show that we still are here to help. Maybe this one church can shine like a beacon of hope. We open our doors to all that will come. All that is willing to listen, we are here. The one true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, is not a God that is there in heaven unconcerned with many of us or our history, but he is the God who comes. He is a Father who never stops thinking of us. And the extreme respect of our freedom desires to meet us and visit us. He wants to come to dwell with us and to stay with us. His coming is motivated by the desire to free us from evil and death. From all that prevents our true happiness, we must turn to God. God comes to save us. As God is motivated to free us from evil and death, we as Christians need to be motivated to find ways to motivate our community, to inspire a sea of hope in a land of despair. I know we have it in us because I was witness to that hope last week. I mention these things because somewhere I read Detroit tops the Forbes list of the most dangerous cities this year for the 5th year in a row. Somewhere I read Flint has the highest murder rate of any city with 100,000 per capita in our nation. Somewhere I read that due to Detroit's crushing financial woes and mismanagement, it drove Detroit into the biggest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history. Now, these are not the events happening in other countries, or on the West Coast, or even in a distant state. I know many of us may not live in Detroit, but this is where our church home is. So this is where we must plant the seeds of hope, to grow past the space of our humble sanctuary. So we as individuals must do more. I even had to look at myself with criticism. My nephew, Justice, needed a certain score on his ACT to receive thousands of dollars for scholarship money. After taking the ACT, he did not get the score required to receive those funds to further his education. I don't know if any of you have ever looked into a young person's eyes to see the light of hope just slip away. But it's probably a look many of our young people in our community face each and every day. He told me along with his mother that they were done. We tried, and it wasn't meant to be. With the rising cost of college education, I knew the opportunities would be greatly reduced. I told them, and I quote, "I have the power of God on my side. All things are possible. I believe together we can achieve any score that we set our hearts to." I am not sure exactly if it was his hope in my words or his faith in God helping us. But that changed his mind to try one more time. He now is finishing up his first semester at Lawrence Tech and has also received a scholarship to play on the school's soccer team. And since then, I have assisted 2 other young people with better scores on their ACT in order to achieve additional funds for their college education. But I can do more. Maybe open a class for young people here at the church to study for the ACT. The point is, hope comes in many forms. We all must find our way in order to create hope in our community. We all know that the world is not as loving, not as whole as we know it can and should be. But the coming of Christ and his presence among us and as one of us give us a reason to live in hope. The light that will shatter the darkness. That we can be liberated from our fears and our prejudices. That we can never worry about being alone as long as we have God in our hearts. May this Advent season be a time for bringing hope. transformation, and the fulfillment of the Advent into our lives. Today we celebrate the first Sunday of Advent. The eternal God comes into the flesh and blood of humanity. Christmas cards portray the little babe in the manger, the shepherds, the candles. Little children learn that Christmas is Jesus' birthday. But these pieces of story only touch the edge of the mysterious event which brings us all together. The good news is that the God of mercy has come into the history of humanity to bring us hope. Now let me say, as I move to my conclusion, it may not be your brother or sister out there. It may not be your mother or your father who is out there who needs assistance. But to be shown that hope does exist for all who believe. But how, as a family and church, can we be inclusive of others who may be different from us? Either we grow up together or we go down together. Let us rise up today with a greater readiness. Let us stand up with a greater determination. After all, the spirit of Christmas is contagious. And when you follow Jesus, do not be surprised to see others follow you. We have shown that we can give aid and assistance to people in other countries when devastation happens. But I say there's devastation right here in our very city. We need to stand up and offer hope inside these four walls, and also to offer it outside of these four walls. We need to start within our own family structure, brother and sister, mother and father, cousin and aunt. Once we take charge of our family, then we take charge of our church family, and then our community. This is our church home. This is our church place. And we will be that beacon, Fort Street, for all who's willing to listen, for all who's willing to come. For the city of Detroit, we'll be a model for all to see.